We are here for the compelling messaging training with Parker Nash, who is just amazing. I've gotten to know him over the last few months. We meet quite a bit and just work on some fun stuff, which we're going to introduce to you all at the very end. But what is so cool about Parker is that he was at Nike for over 11 years and learned so much. And what was cool that he has told me, and also Ed works with him as well, is that during that time, he realized all these big things that Nike does, small businesses can do too, and often they're missing that element from their business. But once they learn how to do it, it can absolutely expedite the results. And so that is what he's going to be talking to us about today. So Parker, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Good to see everybody. Ed, nice to see you again. A lot of this Ed's going to be like, yeah, I've heard this before, but yeah, I mean, just piggybacking on what Midori said there is I spent over a decade working at Nike, and through that process, working there and just through the experience of working there, being around in that environment, and then also just starting to really study and analyze what other billion-dollar brands like Nike, Apple, Amazon, Google, all these brands that we know so well. What I started to realize was what most of them do. You know, a lot of people may think, well, they're so successful because they have billions of dollars of resources and they have all this war chest that they can go to and use, which is, well, that's true. We can't ignore that. And absolutely, they do have a ton of resources. But at the same time, too, if they didn't do these things well, they do the right way, they could also just waste a ton of resources and just burn a ton of cash. And as you look and start to peel back the layers a bit of what makes brands like Nike, Apple, all these guys successful are a handful of principles that are what any business can and should do in order to communicate their purpose and market themselves and brand. And it really should go through all key touch points with their customers. So today, what we're going to talk about is kind of one of those foundational elements. And that is creating a clear message so more customers pay attention. And this is really where all these brands start, and is two pieces. Is first really clarifying who their ideal customers are, and then using that knowledge to then create a clear message. Because creating a clear message and understanding who your ideal customers are will go through all pieces of your business. It should go through your branding, it should go through your marketing, it should go through your sales, how you create your products and services, all those pieces, right? It's all influenced by those items, and that's really the foundation. And so I'm going to share a screen here, but we're going to go over kind of a little messaging formula, a framework that can help you all create a clear message. So let me share screen real quick. Everybody seeing this okay? Cool. Great. So how to create a clear message so more customers pay attention. So here is the problem, which is most people and businesses are being ignored. And that's really a shame, because there are a ton of great businesses with incredible products and services that aren't reaching the people that can really use their help. And that's a shame that that's not happening. There is so much noise now today. There's so many options. There's so much distraction. Most of us are essentially lost within a sea of noise. So this is why we are being ignored. And I see there's four main reasons why so many of our brands and people and businesses are ignored. And they're being ignored because of point one, which is what I call they're being me monsters. So these are messaging mistakes. These are what you should avoid when trying to talk about your business. And there is one of my favorite comedians. His name's Brian Regan. If you haven't heard of him, jot that name down and then type in Brian Regan me monsters. Watch his little YouTube bit after this call today. It's hilarious, and it cracks me up every time. I've probably seen it a million times. I still laugh. But the whole point of it is, he says, inevitably when he goes to a cocktail party or dinner party, he gets cornered by the guy that's that guy, the me monster, the guy that is bragging about himself, talking about all the homes he owns, the expensive cars he has, the Rolex he just bought. And he starts pumping his chest, and he's just talking about me, 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 me. And he turns into this me monster that is all about him and not about anybody else. And the bit goes, Brian says, that's why I wish I was one of the 12 people that have walked on the moon. So no matter what, when I get cornered by a me monster and he's talking about how great he is, I'll be able to say, oh, that's interesting. That reminds me of the time I walked on the moon in a sea of tranquility. Have you done that before? So he always has this ultimate trump card. But the whole point is, this is a mistake so many of our brands, businesses, and entrepreneurs do, is they become me monsters because they feel like they have to prove themselves to their prospects, to their leads, to their customers. And it ends up coming off as someone that sounds bragging. They talk all about themselves, and it's a huge turnoff. So that we have to avoid becoming the Brian Regan me monster. The second mistake I see all the time in terms of messaging when we're trying to talk about our businesses is so many brands use jargon, confusing, or vague language. And the problem with this is it's because it's what we call the curse of knowledge, is we forget that not everybody knows as much as we do about our business, about our products, about our services. And we forget that not everybody within maybe our little realm that are industry or expert topic experts don't know all this. And so when we speak to them, we speak in a way using this confusing jargon or corporate lingo or industry lingo that they do not understand. And it's essentially, we're speaking French, but our customers only speak English. And so when we speak about and talk about our business, we have to use the language that our customers use. So we have to get them on their level. The third mistake I see all the time is when brands try to be everything to everyone. It's the old saying, the friend of everybody is a friend of no one. So this is where really getting clear on who is your ideal customer is really important, because when you understand who your ideal customer is, one, you're going to attract the people that you love to work with, but two, more importantly, you will detract the people you do not want to work with. And this is what brands like Nike, Apple's, all these billion-dollar brands do all the time, is they're really specific about what they're saying, because it's doing those two laws of attraction perfectly, which is they attract the people they really want to bring into their fold, and their messaging essentially repels the people they do not want to work with. So they don't have to waste their time and effort on people that will not love their products and services like this other cohort of people. So trying to be everything to everyone. And the last messaging mistake I see quite often is what I call essentially just trying to say too much. I mean, in today's world, squirrel brain is a real thing, We have about 3 to 5 seconds to grab someone's attention. So less is more. We have to be really specific and talk about our businesses in a way, in such a fast way that people go, oh, I get it, and I want that. And that's the key principle here, is the brands that communicate how they help their customers succeed fastest are the brands that win. And this may seem a little bit counterintuitive, but the brands that have the best products and services don't win. It's the ones that can communicate how their products and services help their customers the fastest and in the easiest way they can understand. Those are the brands that win. So with that, there are 7 key principles of clear messaging that we need to understand so that we can incorporate it into our business and all of our marketing efforts. So starting with clear messaging principle number 1, this is where we have to start, is we have to clearly identify the big outcome our customers want from our products or services. And it's not the big 5 outcomes. It's what's the big dang one outcome our customers want from us. Really what we're trying to answer for them as they're thinking about it, when they come across this, is they're thinking in their head right now, what's in it for me? Why should I be paying attention to you? How can you help me? What will I get from working with you? That's what we need to really answer here, is what's in it for me. And this is actually the nickname for this principle is what I call the barbecue brisket principle, because I love food. I'm a huge foodie, and I live in Portland, Oregon. My mom and dad live in Austin, Texas. And every time I go there, as soon as I get off the plane, I start smelling smoke, whether it's barbecue smoke, whether it's actually I'm smelling or it's just like a psychological thing. But I go, oh my gosh, I'm in Central Texas. I have to go get some barbecue brisket. I have a desire, I have an urge, and I have to go satisfy that urge. And that is essentially what we need to do for our businesses. Now, we're not all Aaron Franklin down in Austin, Texas, selling brisket, but what we do need to do is create a desire. That is what we're talking about here, is create the desire for people to go, oh my gosh, you're solving this problem for me, or you're going to help me get this outcome. That is what I want. So that's what we need to do, is really quickly and clearly identify the big outcome so people can understand what's in it for me. Messaging principle number 2. If you aren't talking about the problems your customers have, they're tuning you out. And that's because our brains are hardwired to avoid pain. It's basically in our DNA. And it's essentially the reason we're all here is because our ancestors, our caveman ancestors, our brains were always looking out for what could potentially harm us or eat us. Back those days, it would be saber-toothed tigers in the bushes waiting to pounce on us. So our brains are always looking out for, hey, what could harm us? Now, fortunately today, we don't have to worry about saber-toothed tigers getting us, but our brains are still hardwired that way, so that we're constantly looking out for the things that may hurt our business, may hurt our status, may hurt us in our lives, whatever those items are. So to pique people's curiosity, we have to talk about what they want, the big outcome they want, but to actually hook people, to stop them in their tracks and get them to pay attention to what we have to say, we need to talk about the problems that they're dealing with as it relates to our products and services. Principle number 3, this goes back to the Brian Regan Me Monsters, which is the hard realization that our customers don't care about our businesses. They only care how we help them succeed in their lives as it relates to our products and services. This is probably one of the greatest things I see is on TV. If I'm watching a program on TV, the contrast is so stark because you'll see an ad from one of these big billion-dollar brands of Google and Nike and Apple, whatever it is. And then right after their ad plays, inevitably there's like a local car dealership ad that goes on right after them. The Nike ad, you'll see it's all about their customers. It's all painting these beautiful pictures of what their life's going to look like, and it's all about them. It's almost completely non-existent about what Nike's brand is about, and it's all about their customers. But then when you jump to the local car dealership ad, there's actually one I have here in Portland that I see all the time, and it inevitably goes into, there's this one about there's a son and daughter, they're third generation owners of this car dealership. They're talking about what it was like growing up working at the car dealership, what it's like now that they're co-owners of the car dealership, and how they used to fight when they're younger, but now they get along, and blah, 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 blah. A minute goes on, and they have not answered or not brought up one point about why I should go to their dealership to buy a freaking car. So it's all about them and nothing about me and why I'm going to get the best deal, the best car, whatever it is I want from that dealership. So that is what we need to do too. We have to talk about how we help our customers succeed. And when we talk about our business, it's only in relation to that. So principle number 4 is to be remembered. We have to paint a picture of what our customers' lives look like after using our products or services. And this is the thing, which is facts get forgotten, but feelings get remembered. So if you can paint a picture of what your customers' lives will look like after they use your product or service, after they work with you, and you can actually start to get them to picture what life will look like after the sale, now that's how it's going to translate is they're going to start telling themselves a story, and that really comes back to feelings, the way they feel about overcoming this problem or achieving this success or this outcome they've been looking to get. So we have to make it really clear and obvious what life's going to look like after working with us. And conversely, at the same time, to inspire action, to get our customers to actually buy from us, we also have to talk about the negative consequences of not acting. And this is a really important thing because this is essentially what this is talking about overcoming status quo bias. No matter how small or large the investment of our purchase of a product or services that we have to overcome the bias of I'm fine the way I am right now, or I'm fine with the solution I currently have. And the way we do that is to actually help them understand and paint a picture again of this is what's going to happen if you don't act and buy our products or services. These are the negative outcomes the pains that you'll continue to experience if you don't solve this problem that you're dealing with. Last two principles. Principle number 6, don't sell products and services, sell a transformational identity. And this is one of the biggest things I learned at Nike. And it actually took me a while to realize this and understand this. And it happened pretty immediately one day. This is a while ago. We were doing what we call a consumer focus group, where we'd meet with some consumers. We would show them product. We'd get their input and their insights into what they like, what they dislike, all this kind of stuff, and just get their sentiments on how the product was shaping up. And so we had a bunch of product one day, and I had a bunch of apparel, and I had this one T-shirt. And I honestly, I was like, this is kind of a throwaway. I was even debating even showing them it, but I ended up doing it. And the shirt had the Nike logo swoosh, and underneath it, it had athlete spelled out. I was like, I don't know, this is kind of silly. It says logo with athlete. I don't really get it. But I was like, whatever, I'll show it to them and see what they think. And there's 3 or 4 kids in this group, and they all went and stopped, and they go, whoa, 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 what's that? And I said, what do you mean? And like, yeah, that's what we want. We want that. And I said, what do you mean you want that? They're like, that's what we want. We want to become a Nike athlete. So it was this shirt that I was showing them. And that's when it kind of had that blowing my mind moment, where I realized, oh, this isn't a shirt we're selling to them. This isn't an apparel item we're selling to them. Nike's not selling shoes to consumers. They're selling who they're going to become after they buy Nike's products and services. And for these guys, it was they wanted to be a Nike athlete. That was the transformational identity that they were looking to assume, and why they wanted to buy Nike products. And that idea of transformational identity, you can see it in pretty much every campaign that Nike has. I mean, here's another great one, which is, they did this a couple years ago. It was all about finding your greatness, which was inspiring people to be brave and great and to empower themselves. So whether it's becoming a Nike athlete or in finding your greatness, they're always talking about a transformational identity. And in this campaign, they ran this for a summer or so. I don't even know if they ever actually sold any shoes or apparel on these campaigns. It was all about who their consumers are going to become after they use Nike products. So it was insane. And that's what we need to do with our products and services too. Don't sell the features. Don't sell what your product or service is. Sell what it's going to help people become after they use our product or services. And then the last principle here is, in a sea of noise, we need to stand out by defining what makes us unique. What about our experiences informs the way we've created our products or services? What about our expertise, our knowledge? Maybe it's a methodology we have. Maybe it's a framework we've developed. But in the world where there's so many options, and unless you're developing a rocket to take people to outer space, which I don't think anybody here is doing that, most of us are selling a product or service when there are many options around it. So we have to find and clearly identify what makes our product and service and what makes us unique, so people understand why this is a better solution and option than everything else out there. So once we identify those 7 key items and we incorporate that into a messaging framework, the question is, well, where should this clear message show up? And it show up in a handful of places. First and foremost, absolutely needs to be clear and present on your website, and actually informs everything that you create and say on your website. 2, it's going to come through in social media. This actually, when you create a messaging framework, it really makes it easier to figure out, what the heck do I talk about? What do I say? Well, you know what to say. You know what the problems your customers have. You know the pains they're dealing with. You know the outcomes they want to get. You know that you know what they want their life to look like after working with you. Those are the things you talk about on social media. It should also go in your presentations. It should go all throughout your marketing and sales collateral. And this is one of those other kind of key secrets to great marketing that I learned through Nike. And you see all these billion-dollar brands doing this, is consistency and repetition. Consistency and repetition. They say the same thing over and over and over and over again until it's impossible for us to forget what it is they do and how they help. I mean, this is why for 50 years, Nike has had one slogan: just do it. But if they made a new slogan every single year, we would Nike, I guarantee Nike would not be who they are today because they kept changing it and made it hard for us to remember who they are and what they do. So all our messaging needs to be consistent and repetitive through all of our marketing sales collateral. And really it goes back to this, which is it needs to be present through any and all touch points we have with our customers, whether it's in person, virtual, or any other touch points they have with us. So real quick, just a couple questions for you all to think about and ponder. And if you have some time, just maybe jot some notes down as we're doing this. But here's a quick little exercise you can do in figuring out, well, how do I actually do this and create this messaging, this clear message for my business, my brand? Here are a couple of questions you can ask yourself. First, clearly identify what your customers want. What do your customers want as it relates to your product or service? 2, what is keeping them from getting what they want? So once you identify the big outcome, why can't they get that big outcome? Why can't they get that desire? Why can't they get that want? 3, how does their inability to get what they want make them feel? Remember, this goes back to that principle of facts get forgotten, but feelings get remembered. So we can get people to remember the problems that we have and actually feel it. We'll actually remember how you help us overcome and succeed the problems that we have. Another question for you to think about: what are 3 ways your customers' lives improve after using your product or service? Consequently, what are 3 consequences of inaction? What are the failures they will experience if they do not act? They do not buy your products or services. They do not decide to overcome the problems that they have that they're dealing with. Second to last question: who will they become? What is the identity of the person they aspire to be? Who will they become after they buy your products and services? And then why are you uniquely qualified to help? So those are 7 questions that, since this is being recorded, you guys can look back at this and screenshot these questions. But I would suggest you all take the time, take these 7 questions and think about them as it relates to your business, your brand, and how you help your customers out. If you can get really clear and specific on each one of these answers, you'll be able to create really compelling and clear messaging that attracts more customers. If there's one thing to remember in this whole little spiel I've given you today is confused customers don't buy. So make sure you clearly articulate how you help your customers succeed and why you're the best option for them to overcome those problems. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing here for a sec. Does anybody have any questions on any of this stuff? We're gonna do some quick website reviews, but do you have any questions about any of these principles we just reviewed there?
I have a question. Hi, Parker.
Yeah, go for it.
I love this framework, and I think it works really great for products with tangible benefits.
Yep.
But I've found it trickier to think about how to talk about intangible benefits for, say, luxury products.
Okay.
So for there's actually 2 of us who work in wine here. And so what would be like the negative consequence of not buying, my customer's wine? And how would you talk about that?
So Lisa, tell me exactly what you do.
I'm a wine marketer.
Okay.
I help people with branding, with messaging and communication. I help wineries, big and small.
Right. And okay, so your clients are wineries?
Yeah, ranging from 500 cases to over 1 million cases.
And they're fairly, okay. That's quite a span.
Everything from $5 sangria to $500 bottles of wine from, very
okay.
vineyards. So, but it's really not, it's not so hard to talk about $5 sangria. It's more lifestyle kind of, and how you're going to have more fun. But for a $500 bottle of wine, to talk about the consequences of not buying it, I've found it very tricky to talk about what bad things going to happen. And I can only imagine, like, I don't know, Stacy, I'm not trying to you know, sort of pull that out. But like if somebody doesn't buy your cheese, your platter, you know, it's because they're things that you want, but you don't really need.
Yeah. Yeah. So for luxury items, it does get quite a bit more nuanced. And so like that $500 bottle that you're talking about there, really it it changes in what you're communicating. And that's actually kind of more, it's basically what you're not saying. We're trying to create is an actually sense of exclusivity and desire. And oftentimes that's actually done through the visuals, the photography, the branding elements that you have within your marketing. And this is where, so you're absolutely right. Because if you talked like really overtly about, the problems they have or the negative failures of this stuff, of not buying a $500 wine, it can be a little bit too on the nose. And so that's where it's actually coming through of, for most of us, where we should be spending most of our money and effort is in marketing, but on luxury items, it's actually probably more branding in terms of making sure the brand identity is really sophisticated. Make sure you've invested a good amount of time and money into great photography and visuals, because when you hit that branding right, you're creating oh my gosh, I want this wine that's paired in this beautiful area, all these different things. You're selling essentially a different level of dream of only people with this sophisticated taste and style understand how great this is, and its exclusivity. So I would say for that, it's really more about painting a picture through the visuals you use, showing that this is really high end. It's not for everybody, but actually maybe one of the things you can use is scarcity within this. Is like if you have those $500 bottles, that's actually kind of a problem, which is there's only so few of them to go around, right? This is what Nike has gotten crazy successful. I mean, that's where like their brand blew up in the 80s and stuff, was when Michael Jordan was first coming on the scene. They started creating his own line of shoes, but they only released so many. And through that scarcity has kept the Jordan brand going forward and making it relevant today, because they only release them at certain times of the year. They only release so many. And then they also do a certain thing, which is they do special editions of those shoes too. So they're even scarcer items out there that only few people have. And they only give access to a handful of people or a handful of, influencers to get those pieces. So for your end, long story short, yeah, less on the nose, more about being part of an exclusive club, and essentially what you're selling is you don't want to miss out on this. You don't want to not be part of this exclusive club.
Anyone else? Anyone else have any? Stacey, that goes along with what you're doing. I saw you smiling because you got it.
Yeah, I mean, I was waiting to see what Parker was going to say, and it was all exactly what I had in my head. So it's really nice to be reconfirmed. I appreciate that.
Stacey, you have are you the one with the charcuterie boards?
Yes.
Okay, actually, this is good because I can go. Midori, do you want to do a website review right now? Should we just jump?
Yeah, let's do it.
So Midori shared me your website, and let me share screen here real quick. All right. So Stacey, this is your website, right?
Correct.
Perfect. So first off, this is incredible. You're already nailing it in terms of, I come to this and I go, wow, I think I know what I'm having for before dinner or lunch is a charcuterie board. You're already creating that sense of desire. I mean, this is my barbecue brisket charcuterie plate here kind of moment where I'm going, oh my gosh, this is freaking amazing. And so like what you're saying, kind of answering that whole thing about the problem, which is, here's the problem. You're communicating it with photos. You don't need to tell me this, but the problem I have now is when I look at these two photos, I'm thinking about my boards or little, serving platters we have at our house. And my problem is they are not this cool now. By comparison, nothing is as cool as what I have is not nearly as cool as this stuff. And everything else I have is kind of just like, yeah, everybody else in everybody else's house has the same kind of boards. So what you're showing me now is this is something truly unique. Are these one of a kind, or like how do these boards work?
Well, the marbling that you see there, that is one of a kind. That will never be repeated, but the design or the pattern itself and the color story can be the same for all the boards.
So that's what, like, if I'm thinking at this and looking at your website here, I think kind of one of the few things you're missing. I mean, again, you've done a good job of great photos. You're not hiding the stuff. And in more luxury items, what I like about this is less is more. What you're saying, like less verbiage, less wording, it's way more here. Let the product speak for itself. But what I think you could do here is, so so the marbling's unique. What else makes these, your charcuterie boards better than other options out there?
So I think it's going back to most charcuterie boards do not have any sort of painting or coloring on it at all. It's pretty standard. So this is done by an artist, and they also turn. Most charcuterie boards are not Lazy Susans, where all my charcuterie boards do turn. So they make it, I say it's 3-in-1. You could use it as an art piece on the wall. You can put it on a table for sharing. And it's also for cutting or putting food on.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so this is perfect. I actually think you need a section here that maybe it's like little icons could do this, which is there's some things that are now speaking to you and hearing what your products have. I wouldn't necessarily know that unless I saw your product in person. And even then, I probably wouldn't understand all the details behind this. So I think telling the story about your product a little bit better can be really actually add even more exclusivity, more value to your products. And here's kind of what I'm thinking is there's a brand I like, they're called Dr. Squatch. They're really funny. And this is for men's like grooming and that kind of care. But what I like about this one section, this is why I pulled this up, is don't pay attention to any of this other stuff. But what I like is this section right here is they have these 3 things. If you can see this, get dirty, stay clean, no harmful ingredients formulated for men. And they have this little graphic that reinforces the point they're making here.
Mm.
I think that's one thing you're missing, which is something like made by artists, something about the unique patterns of each one. And maybe it's something like the, about the Lazy Susan spinning table it's on. If you had 3 things that made it really clear about why these are even better than other boards out there, besides what I can see, I think those are things I would add in there, which would make it really stand out even more.
Great.
And then if anything else, maybe the only other thing I would add are just a section for, again, they have some good ones down here, reviews. They do a really good job of, let me see if I can get rid of that, of having customer reviews. This is what we want, is social proof, right? Why sell it when someone else is going to sell it for you? Your happy customers are saying, oh, had it for this dinner party. I got so many compliments. I've never had a better looking charcuterie board. See if you can get a couple different things of like different benefits they get, outcomes that are telling a little bit different uses of the products. And if you had a little section like this with the reviews, that'd be awesome too. And now as I'm thinking about this too, what do you want to like about this section here? This is probably like for future down the road, is in your world where there's so much craft going into your product, actually showing the the process a bit of what goes into the boards is something people really love. They love to see what's the process, how is it made. So if you can have like, look how they're doing this, which is they're showing you their products, what it's made from, oats, grains, different items, materials, like pretty awesome how this looks. You could do a similar thing if, where do your boards get made? Are they in the United States or is it offshore?
Right downstairs in my garage.
Oh, do you do it?
I make them.
Okay. Wow. All right. So there needs to be
California. It says handcrafted in California.
yes. Right. Okay. So hire a videographer to take some really good videos and photos. I mean, you could do this in like half a day and you'd have more photos and videos for the next 6 months than you could ever dream of. But showing that process of you probably cutting the wood, laminating the boards together, cutting them, I don't know if your marble comes pre-cut and all that kind of stuff, like that process there would be incredible. And again, just shows the touch and detail you have in this stuff. And I mean, honestly, if you start doing that and peeling that layers back, I think you can actually probably start charging 2 or 3 times the amount that people, when they start realizing that these are essentially bespoke charcuterie boards that you have. So I think that would be amazing.
Huge compliment.
That in there. And that's essentially like, basically what you're answering for people is why are these better? Why are these boards better than other boards out there?
Question.
Yeah.
Social media, putting videos up there and then connecting it to your website. And then there's like Linktree, and you can essentially use Linktree almost as a website to add videos on how things are done and stuff. What's your thoughts about that?
Again, less is more. I mean, don't give people so many options that they get distracted from the main goal, which is buying your boards.
Okay.
But there are absolutely, there's some good things to have in terms of have a couple items. Maybe there's like a link to how it's made, that video or like a little expose on how you make your products. I don't know if you do blog posts or anything like that, but like maybe there's some links to that. But yeah, I mean, less is more. Don't give so many people so many options that they get carried away with this amazing article or video you made that they forget to actually go and buy your board.
So, okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So less is more, but adding some video content on the front page.
I like, kind of like what they're doing here is just, I think you're doing your boards a little bit of a disservice in that you're hiding some of the beautiful details and story behind it that I would not know if I just came to your website. So let that come through a little bit more. Okay. And oh my gosh, I mean, that's going to be amazing. And by the way, going back to Lisa's question about the problem, selling the problem, your problem actually can one thing you can talk about is essentially that, couple ideas I'm thinking about, like this is actually something you could put in social media or whatever it is, or an email you send out to your list is, I mean, okay, if you're putting a board together like this, unless you're a master charcuterie maestro, I'm willing to bet that probably takes 15 to 30 minutes to put all this stuff together. How terrible would it be if you spent all this time cutting up all this cheese and stuff, assembling it perfectly, and then you put it on like this crummy looking plastic board, right? It's not actually highlighting and showcasing this beautiful food you just presented. So that's the problem is don't land. You've got to stick the landing here with this amazing piece of artwork that really makes your charcuterie board stand out.
Thank you.
This is awesome. I mean, Midori just said she's buying these for wedding gifts. I'm like, yeah, I think I know what the gift is now.
She's been a great fan. Also, I was considering going back to your doing the scarcity is also advertising. It's small batch. It's made in small batches. There's only limited releases on these dates each month.
Right.
That's the thing I was looking to add into.
I mean, that's something you can talk about too, which is like, let's say you make I don't know how many boards you make at a time, but let's say you make 10 of these navy boards with the marble. I'm just going to make this up. You could tell people that, hey, there's only 5 left. There's only 3 left. There's only 2. There's 1 left in stock, right? I mean, there's actually, you start to see this quite a bit in e-commerce sites now, saying some products, they'll have like little things above where their shopping thing will say low inventory. That's scarcity. So that's what we want to make sure people know. That is, it also just helps reinforce that these are artisanal, these are handmade. There's not much left.
Stacy, yours shows that. I saw that the other day, that there's only 1 or 2 left.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to be mindful of our time. And I know we have one other site we're going to look at.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you, Parker.
You bet. Nice work. All right. Quantum Power Empowerment Academy. Lene, am I saying your name right?
Yes, that's perfect.
All right. So quickly tell me, what do you do?
I I do transformational leadership programs, and the problem that I solve is burnout, loss of creativity,
Okay.
and lack of creative perspective.
And who are your either typical or ideal clients that you're working with?
Ideal clients are
How about this? Who do you want to, maybe it's like we're, working through this. Who would you really want to spend most of your time with?
people who have who have positions at director or CEO levels, people who are the leaders in their companies.
And are your companies, are they small business? So if they're like C-suite.
Yeah, under 250 is what I'm the sweet spot right now.
Under 250 employees.
Yes.
Okay. And so I assume, okay, so under 250, but they're probably above a certain amount of employees, probably above a certain amount of revenue.
It depends. Like if I'm going to have an entire team, like if I'm going to be leading a team of leaders, then yes. But I also work with individual leaders who want to come in and form a cohort with people outside their company.
Got it. Okay. So that helps. And the reason I was asking these questions is I think that applies here to your website, which is, so first off, what I like about your site here is, and this is your main home business.
Yeah, I really consider it to be like a postage stamp. So it's really not, I know it's not great and it's not updated.
No, but here's some good things about this, which is I like that you have clear sections. I can skim and scan this really fast, which is I can fly through these and I see each section. Like, when we first come to people's websites, we don't go, I'm just going to pull up a seat. I'm going to invest the next 30 minutes of my time here doing this. No, we're going to skim through these really fast and we're going to go, oh, is this interesting? We're going to go really fast, like I'm doing right now. We're going to go to the bottom. Essentially what I'm doing is looking at headlines. What is this? What's this about? What does this mean? Is this something that's interesting? Like we're trying to get those from those messaging principles. We're trying to figure out, what am I going to get? What are the problems? What's my life going to look like? How do I do this? I'm just trying to go for that stuff quick. Once I understand that and I'm intrigued, then we'll come back and spend more time. So what I like about, long story short, what I like about this is that you've made each section defined. I can skim through your headlines here really easy. And you're hitting on a lot of these different things. You have some testimonials, which are good in terms of the social proof that you have. So that's fantastic. I think where a couple things I would think more about is kind of what you're just saying there is that's what to me is missing is a little bit more clarity in terms of who are, like, if I'm a actual ideal potential lead for you, I would not necessarily know that right now because nothing in here says, here's who I'm perfect for. Companies with over, 100 to 250 employees. They have best for directors and C-suite level types. Maybe they're in these type of industries. Basically want to make this is so that when I come here, I go, oh, hey, well, that's me. And oh yeah, I'm dealing with that problem. Oh, and Lene has some good stuff I could actually use to overcome this. So I think that is making it specific and so that and obvious of who is best suited for you to work with. And then two, I think the other thing you could do is just demystify a little bit of what your service or product offering is. I don't necessarily know right now when I come to this, like, is this a, do you have like a 3-month program you take people through? I think you just said there was, you can either do group work or individual work. Like I don't think that's stated clearly here. I think some of those things would be really helpful in helping you clarify what it is people can buy from you, who it's best for, and essentially what are the ways you are going to help them. Like that, I feel like that's missing a little bit too. Is it looks like you have some Enneagram stuff. I know Enneagram just because, but don't assume everybody knows that. So I'm assuming part of this will be of we're going to help people figure out their personality types so teams can work better together. Maybe some things like that. But like, what are the ways in which you improve, and what are the things you work on with your clients? If you can spell that out, that's going to make it more impactful.
Okay, I have thank you. And I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
I don't sell anything off of my website. I only sell through conversations because I do the higher level.
Right.
So my, like, what I have been like working towards is just like, how can I just make sure that they take the next step without having to feel like they're going to have to do a deep dive into my program, which would be introduced at the next step. So if people click that button, they're going to go to my webinar, and that's going to give them, this idea about how you can be brilliant without burnout.
Yeah.
And then that leads to the call.
Yeah. But even then still, like, I don't necessarily know yet from this who it's best for and the ways in which you could help me, which if I understand that more, then I'll be like, oh yeah, I am interested in the burnout session here, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so I had to make sure that's clear. And the other thing I was just thinking about this too, of, I think finally can I schedule time with you here? Yeah. Okay. I would make sure there is just maybe up top too, if somewhere like in the top right corner or some point, like, I think that might be the only place where, what if I just want to schedule a call with you right now and I don't want to sit through a webinar?
That would be nice.
That's the only
I've not had that happen, but
yeah, no, it's kind of hidden right now.
Yeah.
Because it's way down here on your site. So I think making sure people have an easy way to reach out to you and contact you is still present. But yeah, no, I get it. Like, you have higher level programs. So yeah, no one's going to come to your site for the first time and be like, I'm ready to buy. It's going to take some warming up, but let's make sure too that they are still, there's no confusion at all about how you help people, the areas you work on with teams or corporate clients or whatever it is, so that they know, oh, this is what Lene does. And yeah, I'm ready to talk with her.
Thank you. I like that idea of demystifying my product offerings. That's good to know because I hadn't realized that it was mystifying.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not totally obvious to me exactly, like you said, under 250, probably above a certain revenue level. If you know industries or types of companies or types of people, the C-suites, directors, like, I don't think any of that information is on here.
No, because
we want to make sure people go, oh, I'm a director, I'm a VP of this regional firm, and we're dealing with these problems. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. That's really helpful.
Cool. I mean, like I said, though, lots of great stuff. You can fly through it. It's more.
I consider it to be a hot mess. So but
you're closer than you think. It's great. Nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy and Lisa. I'm screenshotting your comments.
All right. Thank you, Parker. This has been really helpful. You went through a couple of websites, and I'm looking at everyone who's here, and I know it applies to all of us. So I have a lot of notes as well. So Parker and I, we have been talking, and you all hear me talk quite often about collaboration and looking for ways to grow your business without necessarily having a new business partner, but doing a project with someone. And so as Parker and I have gotten to know each other, we realized that we each have a different zone of genius. And together we can do some really cool things. And so just recently we have put together a very beta program, and we wanted to introduce it to you guys first. We weren't even planning on this. I'm like, well, why not? Let's just get some feedback. So let me share what we have going on and tell you about this. So we are launching a 6-month kind of a deep dive program where we help entrepreneurs build the foundation of the business. You all hear me talk all the time about the importance of aligning your zone of genius, your passions, and your core values. Y'all hear me say this all the time. So we start with that. We do a DISC assessment and help you identify what your zone of genius is, as well as some areas that maybe you're not as strong at. We also deal with mindset and helping you develop the next level mindset, because obviously you're in Fuel the Fire, you're even interested in any of this because you want to get to a higher level. To get to a higher level, we have to change the way that we think. We have to change the way that we step into our businesses. And so we work on that throughout the whole program. And then, of course, we go into, y'all know, the Summit goal mapping framework, make sure that that is solid and as impactful as possible. And then Parker comes in, and Parker, I'm going to let you talk more about what you do to help the clients as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Midori said, and we talked a little bit at the very beginning of this call, which is, through my experiences at Nike, learning how they go about branding and marketing and building their business, but also just studying other incredible brands like Apple's, Google's, all them, they really do all the same things as it relates to how they go about marketing, branding, and putting themselves out there in a way that gets customers to their front doors, right? And so this is what I have seen and realized is a lot of marketing fails, and most marketing is a complete waste of time because people think they get bogged down by the silver bullet, the magic bullet syndrome, which is, oh, if I have this website, or if I have TikTok, or if I have insert whatever new hack tool thing that's going to save your business. If I have this thing, my business will be amazing. But what happens is most of the time it ends up being disjointed, nothing's working in unison, and we actually haven't built out a system to create effective marketing. And that's where it comes in these 3 stages. So what we have here in stage 2, after we clearly defined our mission and mindset, our why and how we're going to do it, and set up a system for accountability to execute this, it starts with a little bit of what we talked about today, which is first clearly identifying who your ideal customer is, and then the message you need to communicate in order to get people to go, I'm interested, tell me more, I'm dealing with that problem, let's work together. So that foundation of your marketing is all about customer and message clarity. The next stage, once you have that, is building out your key attraction assets. What are the pieces you must have in order to get people to engage with your brand? First and foremost, that's an effective website. Whether it's more of a billboard like what Lene has, people no matter what will come to, once they figure out and hear about us, they're going to go to our websites to understand a little bit about what we do. So for Lene and that kind of world, it may just be, I'm going to study a little bit more about what she's doing. But for someone like Stacy, it may be actually I'm going to come on this site and I may buy something right now, then and now. But regardless, got to have an effective website. We also need to have those key assets of a lead magnet and then email nurture and sales campaign, so that when people do come to us, we are able to start building a relationship with them and nurturing them, so that when they are finally ready to overcome the problems they have as it relates to our products or services, you're top of mind. So it's about building a relationship. That is done through creating those attraction assets. And then last but not least is stages 1 through 3 do not matter unless you actually have an attraction system in place. And I call it the 3 Bs, but it's essentially build, borrow, and buy. Build is how will you, and where will you create content? Do you want to do blogging? Do you want to do social media? What kind of social media do you want to do? Do you want to do podcasting? What is the place you can commit to that actually helps establish you as a known brand in person and gets people to know about your business? So building's great. The downside is it takes a while. So it takes patience and consistency, but it is something you should do. The second thing is what I call borrowing. And this is where brands like Nike are masters at this. So many people think and just jump to the last step, which is buying, which is, paid ads, Google, Facebook, whatever, right? Traditional advertising. They just think, I'll just go pay for it. But if you actually pay attention, so many brands like Nike do this stuff all day, and it's probably even more effective, which is borrowing, in terms of borrowing other people's audiences. And it needs to be a win-win for everybody. So partnerships and collaboration. So just kind of like what Midori said here about us working together, is there are already brands that have done the really hard work of building a following, building an audience, building trust. And so why try to go spend all that time building an audience and a following when there's other brands out there with non-competitive products or services that you could partner with, that you guys coming together could actually amplify the success of the customers that you're serving? Nike does this all the time. They have partnered for 20 years or more with Apple. And I mean, now there's the Nike Apple Watch, but they have this, they go, oh, Apple has all these customers that are perfect Nike customers. Apple goes, Nike has a bunch of customers that are also perfect Apple customers. We're gonna do something together to tap into each other's markets. And then that's a win-win for us but also the client. So that's the borrowing. And then last but not least is finally that buy phase, which is, if you are going to spend dollars, where should you do it? What is the most effective strategy for you to do that, to acquire more customers and grow your business? So that is the marketing framework. But again, that can't happen if you're stuck in not understanding what you're best at, what you love to do. And if you're stuck doing a bunch of work that's a total grind and an energy suck from you, you're never going to be able to get to the let's build my business up, market my business properly phase.
Yes. Yes. So like I said, you guys are the first ones to hear about this. We were not planning on it. But one thing that Parker and I said is we want to have a beta group first, so we can kind of test it and really pay attention to those who come in, make sure that they are super successful. We're going to meet every other week, where we dive into what you have going on, making sure that everything is solid, taking you through this, this graph that you see. So you're going to have a very succinct, timely, effective business to carry you through. And so our launch price is $12,000. And that is for 6 months working with Parker and myself. So I know we are at the top of the hour. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. If you have feedback, if you have questions, if you want to discuss this further, just reach out to me. You all know how to find me, and I'm happy to answer whatever questions you might have. But Parker, thank you so much for being here with us. I'm hoping this is not the last time that we see you in Fuel the Fire. And thank you all for being here. Hope you got a lot of great ideas and tips, and I will see you all later.
Thank you. That was awesome. I really appreciate it.
I'm going to drop my email in here in case anybody wants to shoot me a note or has any questions about, some of the messaging stuff we went through. So if you guys have questions, just go ahead, copy my email address, shoot me a note. Happy to chat and meet with you all and talk through some things. The one thing to note, there's a T in the parkertnash.com